Hello, my podcast people, and thank you for joining me for yet another episode of my favorite online business podcast. If you are tuning in, watching, listening on the day that it drops, it is Monday, October 20th. Welcome, friends, to the back half of October. If you're watching, maybe you can see these lights are bright as fuck. The seasons are changing, y'all, which means that the sun is in a different spot, and this camera, I'm not going to get a new one. I don't need a new one, but it doesn't do the best with picking up light. I've complained about this before, but I got these lights on bright in my eyes. You can't see the lights, but trust me, they are bright in my eyes. But today we are talking about the importance of knowing your shit, aka the importance of competency as it relates to your business. In this case, lighting, that is competency. Knowing the kind of lights and the amount of light to make the video look good, but damn, it is bright. So this is something that popped into my head. This topic is something that popped into my head as I was answering a question that someone had about running a podcast with two co-hosts. And at the time I'm recording this, so this is Monday, the calendar, Monday the 13th. I'm just started the week-long launch for Press Publish. And so far we got 4 people registered. It means we're halfway full. I cap it at 8, and I'm fucking pumped. We'll see if we get more throughout the week, aka if people sign up on Friday, because that's how it is. But I'm fucking pumped. Even if I got one person for it. I really enjoy running this podcast, yes, but really enjoy running the program. But one of the folks that registered this morning, they reached out with a question about whether I could help them with the tech aspects of needing 2 mics because they would be co-hosting. It's not something that I talk about in the emails I send out to the wait list, which now of note, I'm just like, yeah, I can absolutely put that. I will put that on the I'll put it on the sales page now. Things, as questions come in, you're like, oh yeah, and you can update things. But as I was writing back this morning, I was in bed and I was like, I fucking know my shit. I know this shit. Mind you, I've known that I know this shit because I've been doing this shit, aka podcasting, since 2018. And it's not just that I've done the podcast. I have done my own podcast. Yes, there's a lot of episodes with that, and also have coached people in it, right? So as it relates to my own podcast, I now have amazing Courtney and amazing Joe, and they help me out. But I started it on my own. And then ChatGPT Curious, my other podcast, I do 100% on my own for now. I wrote a 19-page ebook about how to start a podcast, right? I have coached many, many people through it, just not formally as a program. I know this shit. People come to me with problems about it and questions about it. And I'm like, yeah, I have the answers to this. And to me, this competency piece is at the heart of a successful business. Now, this is not to be equated with it being the only thing that's needed for a successful business, right? You got to have demand. That is the most important, right? And you got to have luck as well. And you got to have some funding. All right, maybe a little bit of a tangent here, but something that I've been thinking about quite a bit recently, just because I'm looking at numbers a lot, namely as it relates to AI. But when we talk about online business or any business, many, many, many businesses make it because they're subsidized in some way, shape, or form, right? I brought in Cadence to speak to the Mafia. I don't know, last year. She has a Pilates studio, and I don't know if you ever lived in New York City and you see all these Pilates studios, you're like, how the fuck are they making it? Like, how are they making it? There's not that many people in it, and like they're in these like really like high-end locations, and you're like, how the fuck are you making it? And she was privy to that in the back end of it. And she was like, because many have rich husbands, all right? That's how they're making rent. Right? We can look at huge companies like Uber, right? They have investor funding and, it's many years before they turn a profit. OpenAI, the parent company for ChatGPT, likely won't be profitable before 2030, right? Like, these companies aren't just turning a profit day one, right? It took Amazon 7 years. Fuck Jeff Bezos. And fuck Donald Trump. Like I said every episode, fuck Donald Trump, fuck ICE, fuck all of that fucking whole shit and the fucking administration, fuck that shit. But it took Amazon 7 years to be profitable, right? I was able to start and grow this online business because I had an in-person job. I was teaching for Rock Tape. And I was still treating into 2018, right? So I started this business in basically late 2014. I treated until 2018, and I worked for Rock Tape until 2020. Right? I had 5 years of funding my life and this business from something else. As I'm saying this, I'm like, maybe I will also do an episode. Whoa, my nose just went crazy. Maybe I'll do an episode at some point about capitalism. Because as I'm saying, I have a really good audience. Y'all listening to this, you're great. I don't know who watches this on YouTube. And on YouTube, this shit can get served to anybody. And I already know that someone can watch it and be like, how dare in one breath you say, fuck the administration. And then you're like talking about Amazon. And I'm like, fuck all of them. I'm just using it as an example. Right? And talking about being profitable. You can be profitable and not be part of fucking extractive capitalism. Right? Having a profit, when that's your sole goal, like it is with extractive capitalism, that's the problem. Right? Turning a profit can be a byproduct of a healthy system. And you pay your people, and you deliver a fucking amazing product, and you are focused on quality. Absolutely, you can still turn a profit. Right? You don't have to be within this fucking extractive capitalism market approach system to things. Right? I feel very passionate about this. And maybe I'll do an episode about it and just talking about it. Because one of the things, and I'm a little bit of a tangent, yeah, but I just wish we all need to read more and learn more. That does tie into this episode. Just socialism, what that actually means. Communism, what that means. And people confusing communism and authoritarianism. And understand, like, when people hear these words and they're just like, bad. And I'm like, but why is it bad? And they're just like, because China and Russia. And I'm like, okay, but what about it? And most of it is that they don't like the authoritarian regimes that look to enact communism via authoritarianism, right? It wasn't the actual communism itself that was the problem. Or socialism. Right? We talked about Marxism and people that don't really know what it is. I'm like, it's really a commentary on capitalism. Like, I don't know. I think we could all stand to read more, and I have many feelings about it. So maybe we'll do an episode about that. But to circle back, fuck Trump, fuck ICE, fuck Amazon. And a lot of times in order to have successful business, and in terms of traditional success, in order to have turn a profit, even if it's a small profit, you need some sort of subsidizing of things, especially early on. Right? And this is especially worth noting as I watch people try to make it in the online space, and why I'm very anti-burn the ships. Like, don't do that, especially when those ships have money on them. Like, make sure that like you can sustain this and fund this. You don't have to make bad decisions, right? But central to one's potential for success is knowing your shit, aka competency, right? I say this all the time. I borrowed it from Danny Mattei. Businesses are built on solutions to problems. So how good are you at solving problems? And that doesn't mean how many problems can you solve, right? A better, more accurate, more specific version of that would be how many problems related to your specific niche can you solve? Right? Something to realize with that statement is that time will be your friend, meaning more time means more exposure to more problems, which means ideally you get better at solving those problems, right? You get better at getting results, you get better at noticing what the problem is, knowing what the problem is, like noticing the pattern, things like that. And then results become steroids for marketing. Right? The other day I fixed the wine fridge. I used ChatGPT to do it. And we brought a guy in and he quoted us $500 and I was like, fuck nope. That's like the cost of the thing. So I asked Alexa, I was like, hey, would you mind if I try it to fix this? I'll order the parts and whatever. It was a $50 part. $50. I did have to get a new multimeter, and that was $80. But now I have multimeter. And it's fixed. This shit is fixed, right? But I'm just thinking about this, that like PT is no different, and that like you can learn so much in the job. You just get exposed to these things, and then you're like, cool, you understand what's going on because you've seen it before, and then you can get faster at getting results because you're like, I've seen this before. I know what it is. I know how to treat it. I know how to help you. So time can be your friend. And when I say results are steroids for marketing, is that's what people care about, right? They care about the outcome. They care about getting the outcome that they want. They care about getting the results that they want. And if you can do that, steroids for marketing. All right. So another thing that inspired this episode was, speaking of results, was questions, especially one specific question from the current round of the Instagram intensive that I'm running. Someone asked, how do you talk about your clients' results or share your clients' results if you don't have any clients yet? And I was like, great question. You can't. Right? It's not about lying, not about fake it till you make it. Right? If you're in the phase where you don't have any clients, you don't have any results yet, this is the phase where you just fucking teach everything you know and attract your first client, who will typically, oftentimes, be a friend or maybe a family member, right? I every so often, it's been a while, I put up that meme that I made with Kim Cattrall from Sex and the City. New season, terrible. I'm glad the show got canceled so bad. I watched all of it, fucking terrible. But back in the original Sex and the City, when Samantha was dating Smith Jarrett, and he's doing his modeling career, and she was like, first come the gays, then the girls, then the industry. And it's the same for your business, right? First comes your friends, then your family, then the strangers on, online or whatever. So we get that first person that's oftentimes your friend or something because you've been sharing all this stuff and you know this stuff and attracting them, and they see it and they want to help you out, and you're like, cool, you're my first training client or whatever. And from there, you spend all your fucking time focusing on getting the best results for them, right? That's the competency piece. You focus on knowing your shit, and it starts with them, right? But this reminds me of like trying to get a fucking I almost said hotel, an apartment in New York City, right? Or trying to get credit if you ain't got no credit. You're like, how do I get a credit card if I have no credit? How do I get an apartment in New York City if I have no rental history? It starts with that first person that's willing to take a chance on you, right? And then you get the best results for them. You help them out the most, right? We also see, as I say that, hopefully you see like how privilege, can play in if you're fortunate enough to have someone open a credit card for you when you're younger and help you build that credit, right? This is akin to, perhaps going to work for your family, since we're talking about business, or as is a bit more accessible, learning the craft on someone else's fucking dime, right? And not in a shitty way, right? But like, if you're a new grad and you're a physical therapist listening to this, don't open a fucking PT clinic. What are you doing? Go learn the craft of physical therapy. Go learn how to help people and help them get better. Go get that competency piece. And then you can worry about the competency piece of actually running a business, trying to both at the same time. And meanwhile, what you really need to be good at is getting people better, right? You need to be able to do that. And then we can worry about the skill set, because it is a skill set of actually running a business. So go learn on someone else's time. It's what I did. Right? I did it for many, many years before I went on my own. About 5 years before I went on my own. And then you can worry about open up spot, right? And even if besides going on my own, this online endeavor, right? I was already almost 5 years into being a full-time practicing physical therapist, and I was really fucking good at what I did. Like, I can say that with full confidence because I had the results. People got better. People told me, like, you are very good at this. And I was like, thank you. Right? I worked in New York City for that whole time at a super high volume clinic. And, I'm seeing 18 to 24 people in a day. And I'm not saying this is a good thing, but if you multiply that by 5 years, suddenly you're like, that's a lot of reps. It's a lot of people. And the competency piece comes. Right? Time is your friend. I knew my shit. I could get results. Then it was just a matter about speaking about, what I did and just not even the results that I got. It was really just like teach everything I know and like largely just sharing my brain on social media. That is how I built this business. Right? I'm actually terrible at sharing results on social media. I'm terrible at results-based marketing. I'm fucking terrible at it. I actually hate doing it. And I don't do it that much. It is a helpful thing to do. I just don't like doing it. Right? I don't share my clients' results like ever. I do ask for testimonials, namely for the group programs that I run, and I'll include them on the sales pages and in the emails, but I never really share these things to social media. And part of that is that the thing that I am most proud of that my clients achieve and do, and what I like to help other people with, it's hard to quantify, right? I help people do the thing. I help them take action. I help them see themselves the way I see them, right? And believe in themselves. With Instagram, I would be most proud when someone like hits 1,000 posts. I'd be like, fuck, that's amazing. Or they have this consistency streak. But that's like not going to sell more spots in a program. And people don't really care about that. They don't know the value of that, when they're looking to sign up for a program. Right? Yes, I've absolutely had clients go viral, but I can't promise that. Right? And there's so many variables involved. And so I don't like advertising that because it's just like getting people in based on that. And I'm like, but I cannot promise that. Right? 1,000 posts, I could promise. It's like, just fucking keep going. Just do what I say to do. Right? Anyone could theoretically do that. Right? It has been really cool with Press Publish because I can advertise my clients' results and that they started their podcast. And I'm like, I'm batting 1,000. Everyone, like the first round of 3 people, every single one of them started their podcast and it's still going. Right? It can have 100% guarantee. I have that 100% guarantee that you'll launch your podcast in 8 weeks. And that's it, because you just got to fucking do what I say. Right? I don't speak to the number of downloads that you're going to get or anything like that, because that is not what I care about. And that's not how the program is marketed. It is marketed as 100% guarantee that you will launch your podcast in 8 weeks. And I know with full certainty that I can make good on that promise as long as that person does exactly what I say. Right? That's literally it. Any questions that come up, I can answer. Any tech issues, I can solve them. Right? I have the ability to learn new things as well because I have that foundational competency. I know what the heck it is, right? So I taught myself Audacity, which is another, we'll call it another podcast editor for this last round because a person in round one had a PC, right? You can't, GarageBand is for, which is what I use. That's for Macs. I went in the rabbit hole of Kajabi as a podcast host because one of the people was going to host it there. And I was like, okay. I learned about Wix as a website, using that with your podcast because 2 folks had it. And I was like, okay, I got to learn about that. But I can learn those things so the foundation was already there. I had more than enough of a foundation to be able to learn and answer, learn the things and learn the answers to those problems. And now I have that experience along with those answers to those problems and even more competency, right? I have competency. I know my shit. And that is what will ultimately sell, quote unquote, the program because that's what folks care about, right? They care about the outcome. They're saying to themselves, you're saying to yourself when you're going to buy something, can this solve my problem? Can this get me the outcome or the results that I want, right? In this case for Press Publish, the outcome is starting a podcast. When I was able to, this morning, the inspiration for this episode, when I was able to hit that person back with all of the information and then some, right? And not to mention that the way that I phrased it was, you're going to have to buy more. Yes, I can help you. And you're going to have to buy more equipment that wasn't included in the gear list that I sent out when you joined the wait list, right? Go price that out first. Here's the things I suggest. Go price that out. And if you are cool with that, because that's going to be on top of the cost of this program, which is $9.97, right? If you're cool with that, then, join. But if not, then don't join the program. And still, here's the stuff that you're going to need, right? And all of that, I'm guessing, made the person feel much more reassured that, yes, I can, in fact, get them the outcome that they want. And they signed up, right? So, the question for you, dear listener, is do you know your shit? And yes, again, time will be your friend, right? The goal with time is to acquire both more knowledge and more experience, right? I'm throwing this in here because you'll never read or podcast your way into full competency, right? You got to test it out and implement it and see it in action, right? And a great first step, and this is why I do love and champion social media and having a podcast, a great first step is teaching the stuff that you're learning, right? And then yes, you got to implement it because we can't just be looking to sell things based on theory, right? So if you're just starting out, and even if you're not, focus on competency, mastery, knowing your shit. All right, that is the lesson for today. I'm looking at the time. I want to do a quick life and biz updates because I didn't share them at the beginning, and I do like sharing them because I like hearing them when I'm listening to other people's podcasts as well. And then I'll wrap it up. But life, what happened life-wise? Lex and I went to Canada this past weekend for one of her good friends had a wedding, and it was great. And it was all the fall weather that I need. I'm good. I don't need it again until next year. We actually had a direct flight back home, which was really nice. We flew out of Toronto, which did mean an hour and 20-minute Uber ride to the airport because the wedding was in Niagara on the lake. But I slept for an hour and 18 minutes of that drive, so it's fine. Right? The wedding went until 1 a.m. We had to get up at 6:45. I was tired, so I slept. But we did see Lex's parents on the front end of that trip. We flew into Rochester, saw our parents, drove up. It was great. Speaking of weddings, heading to Hawaii next week, well, from the day that this episode drops, for Jill's wedding. Stoked about that. I got a new suit and everything, and we're going to Jurassic Park. Actually, now I got to book that. Going to Jurassic Park, doing a tour. It's also where they filmed Lost. So I'll let you know how that goes, but I'm excited about that. The weather here, SoCal, it's changing. It's still the best place ever. I came home from Toronto and put on shorts because it was 71 degrees. And I was like, yes. But I haven't played early morning volleyball in a bit, and I already know that I'm going to be complaining when I go back because the shit's about to be cold. The sand's going to be cold, I know it. But stay tuned for those complaints. My shoulder, can't really tell, but it's bugging. So I'm going to see Karen soon. I'm 100% sure it is 97% from my neck. So I'm going to get the old snap, crackle, pop, and some needles from Karen. Talk about competency, though. Right, and knowing your shit. Karen and Anna, those are the only 2 people that I trust to treat me. So yeah. Business-wise, the intensive is going so well. If you're in this this last round and you are listening, thank you. Y'all are fucking crushing. If you were in any round and you're listening, thank you. That program was the backbone for my online business career, so thank you. Press Publish is about to start. Stoked for that. ChatGPT Curious is going great. The podcast's going great. If you're interested in ChatGPT or AI, give it a listen or subscribe to the newsletter. All right, we'll link both. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, JoJo. It is a lift, but I'm really enjoying it, and we'll see what happens. So I'm definitely learning some shit. Right, learning my shit. All right, that is all for today. As always, endlessly, endlessly appreciative for every single one of you. Until next time, friends, Maestro out.